Joke for you, but it's not funny. You might have heard it before. How many tools does it take to run a website? So, what's hiding behind every simple WordPress site an agency manages is a ton of tools, a ton of functionality. The website itself, the hosting, security, backups, reporting. It's so many tools. Every one of those tools is a seam where things can break. So in this episode, we're going to be pulling back the curtain on the real operational chaos inside WordPress agencies with hidden costs, slower delivery, stressed teams, clients who can never really know what's going on. We're talking about what happens when agencies stop duct taping their tech stacks together and start consolidating. And that is an opportunity for WordPress product builders. So this show's for you.
This is WP Product Talk, a place where every week we bring you insights, product marketing, business management and growth, customer experience, product development, and more. It's your go-to podcast for WordPress product owners by WordPress product owners. And now, enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to WP Product Talk. Before we get started, if you benefit from WP Product Talk, if you like the show, we would love your support. The easiest way to show your support is to hit that like and subscribe button down. Just hit it right now. It only takes 1 second. It makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. And if you're listening on a podcast player, check out our YouTube channel and please subscribe.
Yeah, absolutely. And huge thanks to Freemius for being our exclusive growth partner. Freemius helps software makers grow, monetize, and succeed. It's a merchant of record platform, so they handle everything to do with selling software, including the checkout, payments, subscriptions, licensing, updates, the dreaded global tax compliance. So that leaves you more free to focus on building amazing products.
Yeah, thank you, Freemius. And for this topic, this really important topic on tools, we've invited the guy for tools. We've invited Emmanuel Khoury to the show. Welcome, Emmanuel. Thanks for coming on. Please introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Zack. Hi, Katie. Thank you so much for having me. So my name's Emmanuel. As you can tell from my silly accent, I'm from Australia. I can see the sun is slightly rising up here where I'm based in Adelaide. And like you said, I'm from WPStaq, and yeah, we're all about reducing fragmented tools for digital agencies so that there's one source of truth that they can manage and run their digital agency at scale.
So thanks again for coming on. For anybody watching live on YouTube, please feel free to leave a comment, ask questions. We're going to be addressing the comments as they happen. Tooling, Emmanuel, what are we talking about here? What does this even mean?
So the best way to put it is WordPress started as a blog, and so infrastructure was the afterthought. So when WordPress was having issues, then they introduced caching plugins, and then security, and then management, and all these other tools that have just been the afterthought of WordPress, essentially. And so what we have done is we look at, from an infrastructure level, how can we deliver better caching experience? How can we allow agencies to manage more efficiently, not on the WordPress level, but on the infrastructure level? And yeah, it's just turned into security eventually. It turned into security, how we look at billing systems, how we've looked at processes internally, how can we take advantage of the infrastructure and automate things? So yeah, we've just looked at it from that aspect, from an infrastructure and automation level, and just put the two together and created, what our product is today.
Right. And when I think about tooling, I think about every single thing. So if you were to quit today and leave your company, each one of you listening, think of all the things that people wouldn't know how they work. And if you don't have that documented, please get that documented. We have another episode of WP Product Talk on transition plans and things like that. But Cloudflare, that's a whole lot of functionality. Every single plugin, what does it do? Where is something hosted? What domains are registered where? What's your mailing provider? Amazon SES. I just gave my lead developer today, Amazon SES access, because I realized I was the only one that had it in the company, and that terrified me. Like, oh geez, I was the only one with access. Each one of these things could go terribly wrong, and people need to know about. And each one of them is an opportunity for businesses in the WordPress space to really help with this chaos. What do you think, Katie?
Yeah, I think this is a really great example of scratching your own itch, because a lot of WordPress product people have previously done either freelance work as an individual or an agency. So you know what the pain points are. This could be a really good market for you. And I think it's also a good market in terms of marketing, because we've seen a lot of changes in the WordPress space with marketing channels like Google Organic going down massively. Targeting agencies with a product can be really smart, because that's more of a one-to-one kind of partnership type play, rather than expecting people to find you on Google, which doesn't work as well as it used to.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our listeners, I know me personally, I have never worked at an agency. I have only worked with agencies. I was an agency, but it was just myself working. I don't know. I don't really know how things work. So when we're talking tooling, Emmanuel, what does that look like for an agency?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I used to operate a digital agency, and so for example, as you start to scale, you would need a management plugin, and there are respective brands in the industry, from like Manage WP, Main WP, and there's many others. And so as you start to scale, you're like, okay, yes, I need this service. And then you're like, okay, I need to do reporting. And then you're like, okay, I've got a separate backup system. So using a separate backup system. And then you're like, okay, I need to offload those backups somewhere. And then it's usually like, then you get to a point where someone has a DDoS attack or some form of attack, and they're like, oh, okay, security is the afterthought. So they start to add in something like WordFence or any other security plugin. And then 2FA became a thing. And so it's either you use 2FA plugin or you're using WordFence, for example. And then it came down to, then after that, it's like, okay, this server doesn't accept, I need to install an SMTP plugin and then have an SMTP service. And then before you know it, I don't know, you need to introduce Cloudflare. So you want to try use their proxy and the caching rules. And it's just little processes that are so manual. And so imagine when you try to do that at scale. Imagine if you got 100 websites under management, 500 websites under management. Like the whole thing just comes down like a deck of cards. And I haven't scratched the surface yet. There's all these processes, like you speak to agencies, it's like they've got a brand new client, they've got to spin up an environment. And it varies. Some will say it can take them 10 minutes to do. Sometimes it takes 1 hour to do. And it just, the whole process is just not streamlined. It's not consistent across all the agencies I speak to. And so, yeah, it's like I haven't scratched the surface. There's a lot more than that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one key thing for agencies is, even if they're selling their time on a project, they're quoting for a project, it's always more profitable to do some element of productizing your service, even if that just means creating a template website which you clone as a starter for each project, or a custom theme that you're always going to use and modify, or anything like that. It's all about that efficiency that you can get in order to get more profit or less time on each project, while still providing the same quality of work to your clients. So I think that anything that can help agencies with that can only be useful.
Oh, 100%. And even we see, for example, different server environments operate and do different things. So like you got a brief for from a client, say, hey, please go up, improve my core web vital scores. And then usually, again, it's a whole tech of plugins to just optimize the site. And then you might apply the same settings to the same website on different server environments, and you're getting different results. And so, yeah, it's just, yeah. So sometimes even just using too many services can just be a distraction to the business and the agency. And again, if it's coming down to charging a fixed price, they're going to be losing money. And if they're doing it on an hourly basis, they're not competitive in the market, where another agency that has, a great set of like a great tech stack can actually do it much more efficiently and cheaper. So it's definitely not a win-win situation for an agency.
Yeah. So one of the things that is a question that product owners have a lot is, how do you break into agency flows, processes? We all know that it's tough to change routines. Do you have any advice on that? Because I do think that now is a good moment for this revolution of AI to come in and say, like, okay, now is the time to leave your old stack behind, and now is the time to move to a different thing that works better. Like, and if you sprinkle a little AI sauce on there and just say, like, AI, that might lubricate the process. But like, how do you recommend doing that?
I've got the benefit, because I work with many cultures around the world with different agencies. If you asked me how to do that with an Australian agency, I would say take it one step at a time. I find American agencies are a lot more where they would say, just rip the Band-Aid off and let's just do it. And if we need to rip the whole process, we'll just do it now and deal with whatever comes next. And
Emmanuel, I love that. I've never heard this before, and it makes total sense.
It does.
And the British, they want to like have tea or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, that's, I mean, if you want to do it slow, if you want to do it the Australian way, I would say one step at a time.
Interesting. Do you think that would that suggest that different marketing site copy would be an extension of that for different regions?
Potentially, yeah. Or in the case, what we do is we start off with the pain point. So the thing is that we've recently discovered is that selling the problem of fragmented tools isn't a good thing when the market knows that there isn't a problem. So if you think about it, the way a digital agency would operate is that if they've got a problem, they use a plugin to solve that problem.
Right.
But we're coming back and saying, no, don't do a plugin solution. Where the infrastructure can fix that. And so if they're not educated to know that, then they will not know what we're talking about. So we've got to go from the very first step. Why do they reach out to a different host? It's usually because of speed and security reasons. And then they can start to see the benefits after.
Yeah, it's really getting my gears turning in terms of GravityKit. We are always talking to like the generic customer. We've talked a lot on WP Product Talk about how talking to the customer is the same as talking to the agency in a lot of ways, because if your agency, the person at the agency investigating your product is often somebody who's looking at it through the eyes of their customer or their client. But what I'm hearing you say is like, that's not really the case. You have to address the agency's needs separately.
Yeah, correct.
Well, we've been talking largely about internal tools for agencies so far, but so that makes sense. The other side of that is agencies buying products on behalf of their customers. So that typically would be themes or plugins or hosting services or something, but something that's going to enhance their customers' websites. So I think that's when that dual lens comes in, where they're thinking through their customer's eyes. But as Zack says, it's not just thinking about what's best for the customer, because for the agency, it needs to be profitable so they can add a significant markup. It needs to be easy to use. It needs to be really good quality and something that they can put their name behind, not necessarily white label, although that's sometimes a factor. but there's a lot of priorities about what will benefit the agency in choosing what products they use for their client sites.
Yeah, Emmanuel, what do you think makes a product good for agencies?
Where it's just a walk in the park. It's got to be frictionless. So from a client's expectation, they want the outcome. So say, for example, let's talk where a client comes to an agency, says, I need a great page speed insight score for Core Web Vitals purposes. They just expect the outcome. How they get to the outcome is not their problem. It's the agency's problem. So they need the solution that's going to deliver that score to that client efficiently and frictionless as possible. And that's where a great tool will come in, or a great product will come in.
And in terms of like WordPress product owners, when they're thinking about trying to make these tools that simplify and hide the complexity for the client and make it easy for the agency to deliver, what would you say to somebody who has a suite of plugins? Katie and I both have plugin suites. That each plugin has a lot of different settings, a lot of different configuration options. Like a lot of our listeners, I think, are plugin developers, are also small site builders as well, but like theme builders. What takeaways are there from thinking about the simplifying thing? And are there?
Yeah, got it. That's a good question. So the way we see it is what infrastructure can do. That's what we have built. And so, in other words, whatever works above the WordPress layer, that's what we do from a process and features function. And then when it comes to building a website, could be a theme builder, could be another plugin that works with that theme. Then that's obviously where that's WordPress level. That's where we don't get involved from an infrastructure level. So what we do is, to give you specific examples, is that a caching plugin on WordPress works on the PHP level, but there are much more efficient layers above that in the server that can handle caching or caching. And so actually we had that joke into before, but so when it comes to caching, we can allow the Nginx level and the server level to handle that, and that's more efficient on the WordPress level. Or if you look at a firewall system, there are many points that a firewall can a hacker can try to attack, and it can also be above the WordPress level. It could be that PHP FPM. It could be try to attack the Apache or Nginx level, or it could be something else in the server. And if WordFence, for example, is on the WordPress application level, it can't see beyond that. It can't see above that. It can only see below that. And so you're really leaving plugins to do critical things can also cause issues because it can't capture the whole issue, if that makes sense. And it's just, beyond that, and then you got workflow issues that just take time. So again, when you look at it from an infrastructure level, you let the infrastructure do what's more efficient. And then when it comes to building inside WordPress, then you've got the plugins that can actually do what's supposed to do on the WordPress level.
Right. And how do you, Katie, how do you talk to agency owners do you talk to agency owners at Barn too? Like, how do you talk to them about their experience?
I aspire to talk to them more, but there are a lot of. We had a really good episode of this show last year with a guy who has a Shopify app company, and he shared a lot about what he does. He has entered a really crowded market for Shopify apps, but he gets loads of sales because he partners with agencies. And I learned a lot in that episode that I think most WordPress companies haven't quite mastered yet, because you can really make those connections You'd need a product that an agency is going to use regularly. I think that's a bit difficult for me and Zack, particularly because our plugins do quite specific tasks that may not be relevant on every project. But if you have a more wide appeal product, then that could work really well. So I thought that was very interesting. But I know it's something that we should do more, largely to protect ourselves against the drop that we're having because of the decline in things like Google Organic and website traffic and all of the things that are the result of the way AI has turned everything upside down. So that was interesting. But another thing I always think of is that at PressConf last year, Zack and I and some other people had dinner with some owners of a major WordPress agency who told us that they practically never use plugins on their client sites. They just build everything bespoke. And they were a particularly large agency, but it made me realize you really need to know who you're targeting, because some agencies, particularly the small and medium ones, do source products that will meet the requirements of each project. Others just build everything themselves, and there's literally no point. So that was a bit of an eye-opener for me.
And that was before AI really had taken off. So if that was a problem before, then that I can only imagine now.
So they must be building for the enterprise market then, I assume.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
They were a major agency, yeah. Yeah, one of the problems with and opportunities of WordPress is the boundary gap between who your customer is. Emmanuel, does WPStaq only target agencies, or is it, yeah?
Correct, yeah. So we only work with digital agencies, and we do have like publicly listed companies and government that use our platform, but it all comes via the digital agency. And so there are times where we'll go directly to that enterprise or directly to that government department, and then but we will say we would like to work with your developer. And so that's how we don't want to undercut anyone. We just go straight to the developer, because they're usually the gatekeeper of the website.
And what is that like to only work, to be so removed from the person who's actually interfacing with your product? I mean, not that you are removed from your customer, but it's just a different relationship.
Well, for us, we build a digital agency, and so technically and contractually they're our client, not their client, if that makes sense. And so the market that we operate is typically the digital agency that manages and pays for the hosting, and they could be providing care plan services essentially. And so how it is to deal with them, it's amazing, because we get to see their issues and we can solve that issue in our products. And so that means that we've got a true lens that we only focus on their needs. And so then our product becomes relevant to their needs only.
One of the things that I've experienced with dealing with agencies and our customer support is that they rarely reach out to customer support, which makes them, a great customer because the costs are low, but it also means that we don't have visibility into their needs. How do you go about that, Katie? Like finding out what agencies need?
Yeah, it is much harder because, as you say, they're not providing support requests to you. They're not giving you that feedback in the same way. We've tried this a couple of times where we've started a project to reach out to agencies that are using our products. Generally, they don't respond.
Yeah.
We've recently discovered that one of our plugins is particularly popular with a very specific industry sector. So we've now started a new project to target agencies who specialize in that sector. And we've had a higher response rate. We're still early days in terms of what we can learn from them. We're also hoping to feature them as case studies, and there could be multiple benefits as well as learning from them. But it's not easy because they just want tools that they can get on with, and they don't necessarily want to be your partner directly in that sense. They just want the tool to do the job.
And you are right. I find that once you are in the door with an agency, that they are much easier to deal with. and we're typically not working with a solo agency. They've got teams behind them, and yeah, once you're in, it's fine. I've found the opposite once I'm in, but that's not saying that if I reach out to everyone, they're going to all respond to me. It just depends, yeah, if it's important to them or not, really, I think. So.
And how do you find new agency clients, customers?
We do paid ads, so they find us via that, and referrals, and ChatGPT and AI models now. So and Reddit as well. So yeah, so they typically find us, and when they come to us, it's because of specific issues relating to speed and security and AI bots. AI bots has become a massive thing, and I guess because we've built our own firewall system. That has helped us to pitch that and to win that. And so, yeah, we typically see that they come for very specific reasons and issues, and that it's typically urgent, and that's it. Whereas, as you probably know, with an agency, if it's not urgent, they won't deal with it.
I think that's human nature for me.
Like the client's got to be on their back. They must be like they're trying to put out a fire, and that's what typically agencies do. They put out fires, and so you got to understand the psychology and what the agency has to deal with in order to then attract them with the right message.
And how do you decide? Like, how do you find the decision maker in agencies? Like, how do you know who the person is to talk to?
Sometimes what I found in the past was if I really wanted to work with an agency, you'll send them an email, they don't respond. I just pick up my phone and just call them. And I use Apollo, I use LinkedIn, and I can essentially find a decision maker. And typically the decision maker in an agency, it's either they're going to say that they're the director, a CEO. But if I do see that the team is minimum 15 employees, I will not go directly to the CEO. I will then try to find a delivery manager of some kind, or a project manager, or or head of digital, or head of someone, and that's where I typically start from there.
Yeah, I think that's sensible. That shows an understanding of the structure of different agencies, because we're talking about them like they're one category, but actually it's incredibly varied. It could be one person that calls themselves an agency, like Zack was saying, or it could be a huge agency with even certainly dozens, maybe even hundreds of people for the larger ones. They're actually completely different things to deal with. And so we need to adapt. But for me, we've referred to AI a few times in this conversation, but really the elephant in the room is whether any of this conversation is relevant, given that agencies can just build their own stuff so easily with AI these days. Agencies clearly have developers. Well, you don't necessarily need to be a developer, but they can get on with these things, and they're probably very advanced power users of AI. So do we even have any hope of attracting them into the future, do you think?
I think for certain things, yes. I think we have been, when we started Stack, we said to ourselves, but between my co-founder and I, what if AI does become that thing? And we've pinpointed that for AI to work, whether it's in the WordPress ecosystem or not, you need infrastructure.
Yeah, you're fine. Everybody needs hosting.
So we look at an infrastructure point of view. But then yet again, you hear a lot of horror cases with custom plugins that AI has developed, and security leaks and security flaws. So AI just accelerates things, but I don't think it's going to kill everything, if that makes sense. It's just going to change the dynamics of the market, and no one really knows how it's going to change, but we just definitely know that it is going to change.
Right. You know, as agencies are shifting, and not just agencies, but like large plugin shops, like StellarWP has had another round of layoffs. Like these businesses that Amazon, 30% of its workforce, Block, 30% or 40% of its workforce, which is the owner of Square and other platforms. Like there's so much disruption in terms of the workforce itself, the people working, and the people working are more likely to use AI. So I do think that the way that agencies work right now is shifting. How do we connect to these agencies? Like Emmanuel, you said you use ChatGPT to find the agencies themselves, and you pick up the phone and call. I'm also wondering, we're going to PressConf, Katie and I. Emmanuel, I hope you're there, but it's also half the world away.
I mean, you never know. But
are there places where people congregate that agencies like share their deepest, darkest workflows?
I guess WordCamp, but we haven't. But there's no WordCamp here in Australia, so maybe I might need to.
That's weird.
Fly to the US.
Yeah, that is weird.
There was
one. You must feel so left out all the time. You're on the wrong time zone. No big events.
I know there's no WordCamp this year. There was one last year and the year before, but not this year. But yeah, it's you did say something, and I forgot what I was going to say. But actually, now I remember. I think there's always going to be a digital agency. I think the teams will just get smaller, so it should be easy to get and reach with the decision maker then. Because AI is just going to empower them to do a lot more with a lot less people. And typically what people do when they get laid off, they will have an idea in the WordPress ecosystem. They'll start up a new idea. And ideas will always flourish, in whether there's AI or not.
So one of the things that AI is allowing right now is consolidating tools, and people who have smaller plugins are finding their smaller plugins are not, they don't have a moat around the AI development space. Katie wrote a great write-up on this, that she's found that smaller plugins don't fare as well when compared to bigger plugins. What do we think about how AIs are looking at? How agencies are looking at the tools they're using and determining whether or not something's worth keeping around?
It's going to come down to the biggest value that the service provides, really. If it's going to be such a simple thing, then it could potentially be disrupted by AI. But if it's such an integral part of their business and workflows, then you would assume that it wouldn't be touched first, or not touched at all.
Yeah. One of the things we're trying to do at GravityKit, we have got a product in the works that we're trying to really have good product market fit. So one of the things and then we have great episodes on product market fit on WP Product Talk. Check our back episodes. But I'm normally the guy who builds something and then tries to fit the product, tries to find product market fit after. One of the bigger questions I've had is, how do I propose to an agency how this would work for them? Like, if I'm building a tool that builds dashboards, because that's what it is, spoiler alert, there's like reselling the dashboard to their clients is like a second level of functionality beyond, like, building a dashboard easily, cool. Having a whole nother level of functionality where you're able to build a dashboard for your client that you sell. I don't have a question, but I'm just trying to describe the different thought process that I have in terms of selling to agencies.
The way the agency mindset is that they're juggling many things, and so they're always putting out fires. And so the best way to look at it is, what can you show them that's going to solve an issue for them today? And if they magnitude that to a factor of whatever over weeks, days, months, years, to the time that they're going to save, that's probably the best way to do it. They're very time poor. Right. Just like lawyers, if you're selling to lawyers or accountants, again, if you know how to sell to that group, yeah, you'll find
How do you sell to lawyers and accountants?
Well, you probably send them a bottle of whiskey, to be honest. So.
Well, I happen to know, Emmanuel, that you might have a background that touches on lawyers and accountants.
Yes, yes, I did study law and I did work at a law firm as well. So while I was operating my digital agency as well. So it's yeah.
Is there a difference between having like between marketing to an agency and marketing to like an internal house web team that like a large law firm might have?
We've traditionally never gone down that path. We've always just gone directly to the agency. But typically those teams do engage a third party service provider, which is typically a digital agency, and they're the ones that are typically managing the hosting anyways. So yeah, so to answer that question, yeah, I think they're just an extension of what they can do on a daily basis, and then leave the digital agency to do typically more the big picture stuff.
Right. I've recently been consolidating the tools that we use at GravityKit and bringing things more into WordPress. And I think that kind of reflects an opportunity that we all have, where I've been using drip.com and now we have migrated to, come on, the CRM, Fusion CRM, what's it called? Fluent, thank you. My brain freeze. Fluent CRM. And then we're about to release a new product at GravityKit that allows you to have essentially front-end Kanban voting for features. So we are going to be moving away from user voice and moving our feature request board onto our own dog fooding product of Gravity Board. So we're about to save between the two of those, $500, $400 a month. And that's while bringing everything into WordPress. So I think that if GravityKit, we're a team of like 7 people. If we're saving that much money, that means that there's that much money to have for each one of the GravityKits out there. So I think there's a lot of money on the table if the migration's easy with AI, right? If there are the APIs available for developers to make the migration easy, and the functionality, obviously. But I think that there's a huge shift away from costs, and I think WordPress. Matt Mullenweg talks about WordPress as like the home of AI in the future. That's how he envisions it, and I do think that having a single place where all your information lives is a huge benefit.
100%. Like the way we're seeing things from an AI perspective is that this is my prediction on the WordPress side of things, is that there's going to be a lot of usage in AI and going to static websites. And so you're already starting to see that slight decline of WordPress, but then it's just going to take that realization that, again, everything is scattered all over the place.
And you need a database databases are good.
Exactly. Then for everything to be brought back into WordPress again. And that's where I think WordPress being the hub of AI, I think is something I actually agree with.
Yeah, I'm finding building AI stuff on WordPress a lot easier than doing it out of WordPress, because WordPress has so much functionality already built into core. For example, scheduling through the cron side of things and sending emails, which it's not that great at, but for internal purposes, it can send emails as it comes. And try and do that in Claude and it gets stuck. It doesn't want to send an email in Gmail. The scheduling is rubbish because you've got to have your computer on. So actually building stuff on WordPress with AI is working well.
But don't forget, because the WordPress ecosystem is so huge, the AI language models can learn from WordPress quite easily. So when it can deliver a solution for you in WordPress, it's going to be pretty much on point because it's got so much data behind it.
How are you adjusting your marketing, if at all, to market to agencies on AI channels? Like, how are you approaching agencies using AI at all?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So you probably heard last year, and there's many facets of AI that we're touching, but one particular pressing one that we're seeing as of late is that last year you probably remember there was a segment in the news about Cloudflare complaining about AI bots
Yeah.
and how they're just essentially abusing hosting services and
They are.
and then they're getting for nothing. Like, for example, the hosting companies are footing the bill and the end users also footing the bill. So because we've built our own firewall system, we can stop a lot of the AI traffic, not 100%, but we're stopping a lot of it. And so we're getting a lot of agencies that are coming to us and saying, hey, we're being affected by these AI bots. So we've been able to help them with that, and we can eventually mitigate it with the right advice. And then from another AI point of view is that we're looking at the AI side of things of how workflow is going to change when it comes to a client briefing an agency and how to build a website. So one thing that we're building internally is a AI website builder for WordPress, where we are building websites into the page builder of their selection. And for example, it's also built in the workflow of an agency. So you get briefed from a client, you then create the mock-up or the website, show the client, they get approved, and then you start building that website. We're maintaining that entire flow. And then you click deploy, it deploys that website inside WPStaq. And then we're also taking all the design elements into the correct module of, say, Elementor or Divi or that page builder. So it's not just a HTML block in the HTML module. So we're doing that. We've also introduced a lot of AI that helps debugging a lot more effectively. So for example, we've built our own debug solution inside our panel. And if you see an error, it looks ugly, but there's a button that says debug with AI, and then it allows you to debug it within our interface. So it's not a generic answer like what you would get from ChatGPT. But I also see a future where like we do automated plugin updates, and we do with regression testing, which checks the code base to see if there's no critical errors and etc. But I also see a future where, and this is on our roadmap, where we will build out AI agents that you can upload how this particular plugin works. And that plugin could be installed on 100 websites, 500 websites. And then you have that AI agent checking every 500 websites that has that particular plugin to make sure that the user flow or the user experience or the user interface hasn't broken as an AI agent navigates that website. So I see a lot of stuff that what agencies do can be automated with AI, and it will solve a lot of their issues and the pain points that they have with WordPress.
While hearing you talk, I realized that you're talking about your website builder, that agencies want to be left in the loop. So much of the conversation is like, do it yourself. Just, all of a sudden I have a website with AI, but agencies want to be needed and need to be needed. So like, I love your handoff thing where the agencies get the brief, make the website, and show the client. And that made me think of, one of the things we haven't done, I don't know why, it's pretty darn easy, is like white labeling. Making it easy for the agencies to say, this is ours, we did this, and here you go, as opposed to us trying to maintain ownership over it. It's kind of a shift of mindset.
I agree.
Do you have any demand for white labeling? Because we get almost none ever in 10 years. So that's why we haven't done it.
No, but I think that it's a shift in mindset, right? Like, so if an agency creates a view or like a product table, like, don't they want to say that that was something they did or something that only they could do as well as they did it with the tools that you provide them?
Well, it depends on the agency. They're all so different, but some, I'm sure that's the case.
It depends on the service that they're offering and how they're selling to their client. For example, we offer white label tools in our system where you will never see the word stack or WPStaq in anything in a hosted website, unless it is by default, it does show that. But it depends if the agency is selling care plan services. And so they might tell their client that they're offering hosting and management and all these services. Then we've got a white label feature that it hides Stack hosting to then the digital agency's name inside WordPress. So it really depends on the agency and how they've sold it, really.
It's worth sending out a survey. We have a viewer from Twitter, or X, I'm old apparently, saying, I've seen this before. People rush into cheap solutions, then they realize later they've lost flexibility, control, plugin freedom, room to grow. A fast AI build site is not the same as a real business asset. WordPress will not die. Weak providers will. That's an interesting angle. So we are, unfortunately, we're running out of time. But before we go, we always wrap with our best advice that we have. If you had one thing to say to somebody who asked you, okay, Emmanuel, what are we going to say? What's the single best thing that you could do to think about tooling as a product owner when it comes to agencies? What is your best advice?
If it's a frictionless experience, that's the only way to scale your business. If it's costing you too much time and it's repetitive, you can never grow a business or an agency.
That should be like tattooed on my forehead. That's good. Katie, what about you?
For product people, my advice on building products that would attract agencies is to really think about the agency's pain points and also think about the threat of AI, which means build big, comprehensive solutions that will be an integral part of their workflow so that once they start using it, it would be very difficult for them to stop and they'd have no motivation to. Building small tools that just take you a small amount of time is not going to work in the future in the way it used to. So think big and satisfy real pain points.
I'll add a tattoo as well. Everybody gets a tattoo. Mine is, Emmanuel, you have inspired me on this call to really, again, return to the idea of agency outreach and like talking to agencies one-on-one. If you're watching or listening in advance of PressConf, buy a PressConf ticket. Emmanuel, buy a PressConf, fly across the world. Come on. It's worth developing these relationships because, like Katie's saying, agencies are, if you have an agency relationship, that's different than having to rank well for Google. So that type of relationship is very valuable, even more so now. So that's my best advice. Emmanuel, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us. Where can people find you online?
I appreciate you having me. LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. If you want to have a chat with me, there's a book call button on our website, WPStaq.com.
And it's WPStaq.com. WPStaq.com,
correct.
Sorry, please continue.
And yeah, more than happy to have a chat with anyone.
Nice. Well, if you're enjoying these shows, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button on YouTube. It's literally free, easy, and it helps to support our work. And special thanks to Freemius again.
And join us next week where we have special guest Matt Schwartz to discuss how market fit matters more than product when moving from services to SaaS. That's going to be a good one. I'm excited to talk to Matt Schwartz as well. So thank you so much again, Emmanuel. This was awesome. I'm fired up to talk to agencies. And thanks for joining us, everybody, and see you all next week.